Okay, we are recording. So, welcome to the meeting tonight. It's just you and me, but that's okay. I want to start off. As you know, I went to the Preston Pugmire mindset, the next level life mindset
Yeah.
workshop, or what is that, workshop or something like that?
Yeah.
Back in September of last
So
year.
they called it a summit to make it sound
That's
fancy.
it, summit. Thank you. I was like, they call it something different, but I consider it a workshop because basically that's what it was.
That's basically what it is.
So one of my favorite quotes from that summit was that Preston said, "What we focus on expands, and then we bring that energy into our interactions. So when we think about it repeatedly, we act on it. So if we're constantly telling ourselves we're not making enough, it kind of goes back to the whole The Secret, the laws of attraction.
Yeah.
If we're thinking about the money that we
Yeah.
don't have, we're going to constantly get bills in the mail. Whereas if we are thinking about the money that we want to have, or the money that we feel like we should have, and if we're actually like imagining ourselves with this money, what our lives will be like, what would we do with the money, what would our house look like, what would our family look like, what would our family life be like, if you could close your eyes and imagine that every single day, or even just imagine it for 5 minutes every day, you know, that feeling, that the thought process of what you would do with the money and all that jazz, you would be able to imagine that life to action, essentially. So what you think prevents action. So even with one customer or ambassador, we've impacted a life. If you think about it like that, where you're taking that energy and you think about, you know, if you're constantly telling yourself, even with one person, I'm making a difference. Even with one person, I have touched someone's life. I've helped someone out. I've been able to do something, you know, and always telling yourself, I'm not a quitter, you know. I pursue. I do hard things. You know, I tell my children this all the time. Where Becca, my oldest daughter, she'll sit there and she'll be crying while she's reading because she refuses to try to read. You know, sound out the word, and so she's like, "It's so hard," and I'm like, "But we do hard things every
Yes. Yeah.
and
Every
so,
day.
yeah, every day. And so when it gets too hard for her and she just has a breakdown and starts crying more, I just tell her, we do hard things every day. And then I have her repeat it and she ends up crying at me all the time. We do hard things every day. It's the funniest thing, but at the same time, she understands that you don't quit. You do hard things. You work through the hard things. And the other thing I tell her is that it's only hard until it's not. So it's only hard until you are used to it, until you've learned and you've mastered it. And then it's not hard anymore because it's habit. And so when we make it into a habit, then it becomes easier and it becomes something that just happens. And another thing I found kind of interesting was that he talks about how our subconscious controls our conscious thoughts and actions. So if we're constantly in our heads telling ourselves, or even like while we sleep, you know, we may not think about it, or, you know, unconsciously, we're telling ourselves we can't do it, or that we're not good enough, or that you can't be successful because of X, Y, and Z. Like, for example, I live in Alabama, and there's a diamond here that, you know, supposedly saturated the whole state of Alabama, essentially. And I run into people all the time who are like, I have never heard of Plexus. And I'm like, I am okay with this. You know, it just goes to show that no matter what we think, that it's not as saturated, or as it's not as, I don't know, it's not as dramatic. That's not the word I'm looking for. But you know what I'm saying? It's not as hard as we're making it out to be. We're telling ourselves these little lies to help give ourselves excuses to not do the work, essentially. Which, you know, we're telling ourselves this. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second there. So as we think, our thoughts are constantly changing. And as we think, we can constantly change the thought patterns that of our brains. And so we can choose to think better thoughts. So like the minute we think something bad, instead of dwelling on it, we can shut it down and actually turn it into the positive, where instead of saying, I'm not good enough, be like, nope, that's not right. Like, and not even get the full sentence out that you're not good enough. Just, I'm not, and then cut it off, because you're not, and you're not anything really, you know. You are good enough. You are better than what you think you are. You are amazing, and you're wonderful, and you're powerful, and you are so much stronger and courageous and brave. All the things that you're telling yourself that you're not. You are successful. You are kind. You are, you know, a great mom. You are worth everything that you think and want. And so, hold on. So as we think, our thoughts are constantly, you are constantly changing your thought pattern of your brain. So you're choosing to think positive instead of negative, automatically switch it off. And then think to yourself, am I allowing unwholesome talk about my business come out of my mouth? Are you talking down about your business with your spouse, with your friends? Are you kind of mocking it in a way, you know? Are you building it up? Are you talking success into your business, or are you talking yourself out of success? There was a scripture that I found that goes along really well with this. It's Ephesians 4:29. It says, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to you, to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. So even if you're the only one listening, you still need to have that grace, and you need to give yourself that grace, and you need to be kind to yourself, and allow yourself to feel that kindness and mercy from yourself and from Heavenly Father. Because when we speak unwholesome things, or when we speak bad about our business, we start to believe it the more we speak it. And the more we tell ourselves that we can't, the more we start to believe it. So we need to make sure that we're putting in good into our business, as well as taking out good from our business, you know, that whole bank account thing. Another thing to remember is that our soul believes every word that we say. So that's why it's so important to say your affirmations in front of a mirror with feeling, because your soul is going to believe it. And when you attach it to a feeling, another thing Preston says, let's see if I can find it really quickly, is that when you if you attach your happiness to a future event, object, or situation, then you're giving that event, object, or situation control of your emotions. So when we attach feelings to things, we allow it to control our emotions. And so when we attach feelings to our words, it has a direct effect to our soul. And our soul believes that because there's an emotion attached to it more, or our soul believes it more because there's an emotion attached to it. And Philippians 4:8, I also found. Okay, I just like this one because it talks about how we should talk to ourselves. It says, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. So I think that helps to kind of remind us of what our positive affirmations should look like and should sound like. Because if we're doing all those things, if we're putting all the virtuous and good things into our positive affirmations, and if we're telling ourselves all these amazing things constantly, then our soul is going to believe it. Let's see. And then, so soul's going to believe it. Sorry, I lost train of my thought again. So virtuous things. So we have to make sure that we're putting virtue into our business as well. So we're not going to be successful if we're just focused on the money from the business, because we're not focusing on helping others, really. We're not focusing on anything like that. So our Plexus legacy isn't a paycheck. It's not the products. That's not the Plexus legacy that we have for our families and for ourselves. The Plexus legacy is our positive mindset. We are constantly going to keep passing down to our children and to those we come in contact with that positive mindset and that positive idea and thought that we need to be better and that we need to push ourselves, and that we can do better and we can be that person. And we need to share that with our children, no matter what age they are, that they are worth it and that they are, you know, they are successful and that they can do hard things. You know, that's why I have my children say that they can do hard things every day, because it's important for them to realize that they are successful, that they are good, that they are important. And just like it's important for a child to realize that, it's important for us to realize that. So in 2 Corinthians 10:5, it reads, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. So Christ wants us to be good. He wants us to share. He wants us to serve. And so as we do those things, as we teach our children to do those things, and as we teach ourselves to do those things through our actions, we can also be successful, because as we do good, as we share good, it's going to come back at us. It's like karma. I always think that, Ty always tells me that karma isn't a part of our religion, but I totally disagree with that, because I always believe that whenever you do good, when you put good out there, good is going to come back to you. And the gospel teaches that in so many different ways, because it always teaches you that if you put the effort in, if you do the good things, then Heavenly Father will bless you with good things. And so I fully believe that's karma. But in our business, you know, when we put good in, good's going to come out. You're going to attract more. You're going to be more like willing to keep spreading that good, you know, keep sharing and keep loving and keep being kind and generous. All those things are going to come back, and you're going to start attracting more of those things. You know, we talk a lot about mindset, and we are talking about mindset tonight, about how we should think and how we should pull everything together and make it a positive setting. Well, the biggest thing behind that, in my opinion, is that when you are a certain way, you attract those people. So if you're constantly complaining, you're constantly going to find people that are complainers. When you're constantly lifting each other up and building up other people around you and helping others, you're going to find people who are willing to help, who are willing to lift people up, who are willing to do the right thing no matter what. And when you're constantly finding people who are generous, or when you're constantly being generous and being kind and being understanding, you're going to find generous, understanding, kind people. And those are the kind of people that you want in this business and that you want with you. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me personally, I love to work with people who are willing to be kind and to be generous and to share more and to give more than they take. And face things head on instead of procrastinate. So I found this really short, I think it's like a poem of some sort. No, it's a quote by Les Miles. It says, it's about procrastination, because procrastination isn't like one of the number one downfalls for us, especially I know for me it is, because I'm more willing to be like, oh, I can do that later. If it only takes 5 minutes, I can do it later. You know, if it only takes this long, I can do it later. And then I end up not doing it at all. So Les Miles says, the graveyard is the richest place on earth, because it is here you will find all the hopes and dreams that were never fulfilled, the books that were never written, the songs that were never sung, the inventions that were never shared, and cures that were never discovered, all because someone was either too afraid to keep up with the problem or determined to carry out the dream. That dream, Les Miles. So our excuses to procrastinate is just our I'm really bad with this word tonight. I don't know why, but subconscious resistance. So excuses equal subconscious resistance. A huge reason why I don't like excuses, like at all. I'm not a huge fan of excuses. I always tell my children that our excuses are like buttholes. Everyone has one. They all stink. Because there's no reason for an excuse. Yeah, sometimes there is actually a legit reason behind something and there isn't a legit excuse, but I don't like giving excuses because I feel like they're empty. They're just, that subconscious resistance essentially, where yes, you didn't do something. There were a ton of things that came up, but you could have done it. You could have squeezed it in. You could have stayed up later. You could have woken up earlier. You knew how your day was going to go. You knew this, and you didn't plan better. So you were resisting it, whether you want to admit it or not. And you're probably afraid of it. And so I like to think that fear is when I know that I'm on the right path. So when I feel that fear, I know I'm on the right path. And when I feel that fear, I know that I'm stretching and I'm growing into the person I need to be. And instead of continuing to give myself those excuses, I try to do better. And I try to push through that fear and that excuse and be like, no, really, I need to do it now. I don't need to do it later. I need to do it now. I need to stop giving myself excuses, and I need to, I have to talk myself down from it all the time. And also I have to remind myself that my excuse is someone else's reason as to why they're doing the business. So my reason as to why I am not, so like my homeschooling, for example, I want to homeschool my children. I love homeschooling my children. Is it crazy and out of control 99% of the time? Yes, but I love it. And I hope that in time that they'll love it too. But there are tons of people who would do anything, including what I'm avoiding doing, to be home with their children, to homeschool, to go on a trip, to go to Disney World, to go to Six Flags, to, take a trip to visit family, to have an extravagant Christmas. All of these things that we find to give as an excuse is someone else's reason as to why they want to do it, is why they want to push through and work harder. And so when I remind myself of that, I say to myself almost immediately, no, I'm going to do this anyways, because this is something that's important, and it's something that's going to help me to be successful, and it's going to help me to make the goals and help me to make the goals I set for myself. But more importantly, it's going to help me become the person that I need to be and that I want to be. Because I want to be that person who helps more people, and I want to be that person who shares, and I want to be that person that cares more for others than for myself. I want to be that person who puts others before myself, because I want others to feel important. I want others to feel like they're loved, and I want others to feel like they're seen, and that, that there is relief to their problems. I don't want others to feel like they're stuck. I don't like that feeling. Why would I want someone else to feel like that, So we have to determine to to change our mindset daily. That's why we do the positive affirmations. That's why we listen to positive things. That's why we push through and we listen to the YouTube videos where, it talks about products, so we can do product education. I actually found, speaking of product education, actually I'll go and do that later. So, we have to we have to determine every single day to change our mindset from being that procrastinator to being the action person, to being that person that does it now, no matter what. So action cures discouragement. And as we act on everything that we feel, we become less and less discouraged, and we feel more empowered. We feel more able to do the things that we want to do. And we have to tell ourselves to stay on point and to stay on our schedule, or do our IPAs, you know, do our daily action packs, or our daily action, whatever they want to call them.